Hi, this is Scott with the Low Tech Institute, coming to you today to talk to you about repacking bearings on your bike wheels. So most bikes will have bearings that keep the wheel rotating. So what you're going to want to do is take your wheel off of your bike, and then you're going to want to remove that quick release by continuing to unscrew it farther beyond what you usually do. Don't forget that you need to catch, there's going to be two springs on either side and sometimes even a little kind of a elongated washer called lawyer lips. You want to keep those. So here's a diagram of what we're going to be looking at. We are going to take the central axle out, clean the bearings, clean the cups and the cones, and then put everything back together. So what you want to do is lay down your tire, and then there's two nuts, a cone nut and then a locking nut on the outside. So you're going to need two wrenches. Now if you have a really thin wrench, you can often catch that first nut, the cone nut, that's right next to the axle, and then use another tool to pry open the locking nut. However, if you only have wider wrenches, you're going to have to hold the bottom of that axle and open up the locking nut that way. It's a little harder. So once you get it loose, here sometimes you have to apply quite a bit of force because they can get a little rusted depending on your conditions. Loosen up that nut, take it right off, and then you're going to have to hold the bottom of the axle and loosen up the second nut, the cone nut. So if you didn't have the narrow gauge wrench, this is how you would have opened the first one also. So then work that off with your fingers. It's quite a long thread, but once it comes off, you're going to see inside the axle there's the bearings. I do this over a pan with lips, as you can see, so that if I turn it over accidentally, my bearings aren't going to go running across the floor, because that is what will happen if you don't use a pan underneath your workspace. So definitely use a pan with lips. So now I want to use either needle nose pliers or let the axle kind of fall down in there and then pull the bearings out. These bearings are held in a metal basket, which makes it a little easier to keep them all together. However, you fit less bearings in there, so I usually like it without this, but this is what my bearings have. And then I clean it with a clean cloth, try and get most of the gunk off in one place, and then move it and do the scrubbing again until it comes clean. Then I can lift the tire off of the bottom, and the second set of bearings will come out. And then I need to clean the cup, the bearing cups right inside the hub here. And again, I'm using a cloth and I'm cleaning it until no more gunk comes out. I'm also going to run a cloth all the way through the center of the axle. I'll push it through with a small dowel or other cylindrical narrow device. And then I clean the other set of bearings and the other cup. And now I get some waterproof grease. I'm using Phil's waterproof grease, but you can go to any local bike shop and they'll have waterproof bearing grease. And here's my dog. She wants me to pet her, but I'm in the middle of making a video. So I apply a bead of this, it's green, waterproof grease right all the way around the cup, kind of like if I were applying toothpaste to the entire interior. And I can just leave it. I don't need to squish it in or anything like that. The bearings will do a perfectly good job of that. And then I put my clean bearings, bearing side down. If they're in these tracers, then you have there's a flat part, you leave that up or out. You want the bearings to make contact with the cup, and then you attach your nut with the cone on it, and you screw it in. Add a little bit of waterproof grease to the inside of the axle. This helps prevent rust if water ends up getting in your hubs. When I lived in New Orleans, my hubs would go underwater occasionally. So as much waterproof grease as you can put in there without overfilling it, the better. And then that goes right in, and the cone will seat right next to the bearings, and it should all seat flush. There should be a dust cover. All of that should be flush up against the hub body. Now I do the same thing on the other side. I fill the cones with the waterproof grease. This time I have to work around the axle that's been pushed through. Oh, now my dog's brought me a toy, trying to get me to play, because I probably didn't want to play before because I didn't have a toy. So here we go, and I put the other set of bearings. I drop them Oop, I got a spot that I missed, so I add a little more grease. I drop the bearings again with the flat side of the tracer up, seat that down, and now I screw in the cone nut on the other side. Now I'll speed that up. So here's a view from the side. So again, setting it down, screw that cone nut on. And now, since I have both cone nuts on, I need to stand it up and make sure that it's even. I have the same amount of bolts sticking out on either side. Then I put the locking nut back down on top, and I use the 2-wrench method again to tighten it up. Now you want to tighten one side, flip it over, and then you tighten that cone nut until it has a little bit of resistance, and then you back off. You want to make sure that that axle turns really smoothly. If you try and turn the axle and you feel a glug, 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 that means you've over-tightened the cone and you need to step it back just a little bit. If you can push back and forth laterally or axial through the axle, then it's too loose. If you turn it and it glug, glug, glugs, then it's too tight. You need to be right between those. Once you get it to the spot you need, then you tighten down the top nut and then give it another turn, and it should turn easily. Then you reinsert your quick release. The large side of the spring points towards the outside. The narrow side points toward the inside. Again, large side towards the outside, narrow side inside, and then you put in the hand tightening one. Mine has these oblong washers called lawyer lips that help attach it to the frame. So make sure to get those on there in the right place as well. I forgot to mention you might want to put a little bit of grease on the quick release axle as well before you put it in there. So I just have another view of it here. So there's the spring, there's the lawyer lips, and that goes down. And the other side, we'll have the lawyer lips, the spring, and then the nut to tighten down your quick release. Tighten it back up, and your wheel's all back together. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Keith on Earth for the diagram. Thanks to Clankabell for the sound of the bike. Thanks for watching. Check out our page for other videos, and check out our website, lowtechinstitute@wordpress.com, for more information about the Institute. Thanks for watching.